Welcome to the Southern Illinois Pigskin Picks. I'm Scott Meese along with Pete Spittler and Les Winkler. Season's almost over. Regular, week 9. Just overall, what are your thoughts on what's going on this year, Pete?
Just overall this year, we've seen some interesting scores, some interesting results. I think Sesser coming back and kind of really start to turn things around was a little bit surprising. Vienna Gorville's strong season was a bit of a surprise to me as well. It seems like Diamond's been kind of topsy-turvy this year. Otherwise, it's been some really highly entertaining matchups. Rashad Campbell up at Centralia running for nearly 560 yards in a single game.
And they're undefeated.
Yes. So anything that can happen will happen, unless.
Well, yeah, it's been a couple of interesting things. I kind of wrote Carterville off earlier in the year, and now they're on the cusp of securing a playoff bid. El Dorado started off with 2 big wins, and they absolutely need a win on Friday night to make the playoffs. Pete's right; topsy turvy seems to describe this season pretty well.
Yeah, I after seeing Carterville early in the season, they did not look very good at all, and Then I find out, well, they're starting a lot of underclassmen too, so they're just getting better and better. And who saw the beatdown they put on Anna Jonesboro coming? That game was 37-0 at halftime, and AJ is a pretty good football team. And I think you look on the other side, DuQuoin 0-2, the world almost ended, and fire everybody, and the kids don't want it as bad as kids in the past, and now all of a sudden they're Mississippi champions and 6-2 and on a roll. And Murphy 3-5. That's disappointing. They've had so many chances. They could very easily be 5-3 right now, without a doubt, and just never made it happen. Let's get into the picks. Carbondale fighting for a playoff spot. South 7 School 4-4 at Harrisburg. The Ohio champs 7-1. Who do you have in this one, Les?
I'm going to take Harrisburg. I don't think it's going to be easy. We saw what happened when Harrisburg crossed over and played another South 17 Marion. Marion handled them pretty easy. Carbondale is not as good as Marion, I don't think, and I think that game was probably something of an anomaly for Harrisburg. It's not going to be easy, but I think the Bulldogs will prevail.
Pete?
I have to agree with Harrisburg as well. Obviously the common opponent, like Les mentioned, is Marion. Both got beat by Marion by similar scores. And from watching Carbondale last week against Marion, offensively the Terriers have to pull it together. Anytime you get held to 176 yards of total offense compared to nearly 500 for Marion, you got to fix some things. I think Harrisburg has the senior leadership, just the weapons and the consistency to win this football game.
With Carbondale, I think they definitely got the athletes. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot and maybe able to score quite a few points, but you know what Harrisburg's going to do, and they're going to give it to the big boy and let that line do their work. And I just think Harrisburg will be able to grind out a win. Moving on to the Black Diamond, Sesser, Valier, Waltonville, Woodlawn is now 5-3 after a rough start to the season against a good schedule. And they travel to El Dorado, and they started off great, but they've been in a real funk with a lot of injuries. Everybody knows in the Black Diamond, if you have key injuries, you're in trouble. I'm going to go with I think I got to go with Sesser Valier on this. They're just playing good football, and El Dorado's got key injuries to their quarterback and several other players. I'm going to take Sesser.
I'm going to have to agree. Obviously at this point of the year, you got to go with the team with the best momentum, and Sesser is that right now. They kind of smell the blood in the water at this point. Like you mentioned, El Dorado's dealing with some injuries, kind of backed into a corner, needing to win to get postseason eligible. And I just think Sesser, after adjusting to Johnny Hollis, his new head coach, and kind of getting used to his system, is now starting to roll with it, and I think momentum is everything.
Les?
I took Sesser, but I'm not comfortable with it. El Dorado, like you said, has to be hungry. Their backs are against the wall. They're not as one-dimensional as they were earlier in the season. Tyler Deaton has just really played well. He had a huge game against Vienna Gorville last week. Dalton Roberts has been banged up all year, but he's still a load back there. And they completed a couple key passes here or there. It sounds like I'm endorsing El Dorado, but I'm going to take Sesser Valier.
Next up in the Diamond, Vienna Gorville. They're 6-2, so a great season for them. No matter what happens, they're going to be in the playoffs. And they're at Johnston City, 6-2 also. The 2 losses were the 2 ugly ones. And I think this is going to be interesting. Mike Rude going to Johnson City. It's a Saturday game, so a lot of extra people are going to be there considering everybody else plays on Friday. What are your thoughts on this one, Les?
It could be bad to the bone, I guess, huh? I've seen both teams play, and I'm going to use the word Pete used a while ago, momentum. Vienna Goreville certainly on a roll. They're a big, strong football team. They've got some weapons. They can eat the clock. They're sound defensively. I just like that football team now. Again, and this is tempered by the fact that I saw Johnson City against Chester, so I probably don't have the most accurate read on Johnson City, but I'll go with Vienna Goreville.
I'm going to agree at the same point. I think Mike Rude has captured the hearts and minds of the folks down in Vienna Goreville, and obviously when you have Elway as your offensive coordinator, the wizard of the straight T, as I call him, you're going to be pretty good. And like, forget about the whole home field advantage, because this has been Mike Rude's perch for the longest number of years. He knows that territory, so there's no real home field advantage. It's almost like coming home twice in a sort of way. But like Les said, I think Vienna Goreville doing that ground and pound and has the strength and the athletes to make it happen.
Well, kind of like you with the Cesar El Dorado game, I think Johnson City should win this game, but I think Vienna Goreville will win the game. I think Johnson City's got more talent than them, but for some reason, I don't know what it is. I just think Mike Rude's not going to be denied here, but it ought to be interesting, so I'm going to go with Vienna Goreville. Moving along, Anna Jonesboro 6-2. I'm sure they'll be fired up this week. Travel to Heron 4-4. Tigers are playing much better than they did earlier in the season, and they need this win to have a chance at the playoffs. What are your thoughts on this one, Pete?
Interesting scenario. Heron, like you mentioned, needs a win. AJ's probably a bit angry after last week, and it's going to come down to who is more mentally and emotionally into this game. Obviously, AJ, after allowing Nashville just one first down all game, comes around and then gets totally dominated by Carterville. So I'm sure there's that rebound factor. And then Heron with the postseason on the line and at home, there's a lot of emotions there as well. But at the same point, I just think that AJ is just too much to prove after the loss last week, and I got to go with them.
Les, your thoughts?
I'm taking AJ. I flipped a coin.
At least you're honest, Les.
I don't know. I just have a feeling that AJ's going to win.
I'm going to go with AJ too. I think Heron could win this. They've
I
got
think
a couple.
they certainly can.
They've got a couple really good skill players, and I think it's going to be a close game. But I think Anna Jonesboro will have too much. Plus, I can't imagine the practices the AJ players are going through this week. Probably pretty intense. Final game. Thought this one might have some more meaning to it after last year. Not really, but we'll talk about it anyway. DuQuoin 6-2. Mississippi champs, undefeated in the conference. At Murphy, kind of the tough luck Red Devils, 3-5. I believe they've lost 4 of their games by a total of 10 points. It's almost hard to do that if you tried. Murphy's not going to make the playoffs, but they can knock DuQuoin's seeding down a little bit after beating them on the road last year. What are your thoughts on this one, Les?
I'm going to go with DuQuoin. There's something to be said for that spoiler role, but at the same time, it's when you're out of the playoffs, it's hard to maintain that focus. Murfreesboro did that last year when they knocked off DuQuoin. I mean, they really did. I covered that game. It was Murfreesboro played really, really, really good football that night. I don't know. The way they've lost games this year is kind of disheartening. So I don't know whether they'll be able to carry that same kind of emotional tide into this final game just for the spoiler role. And that's the main reason I'm going to go with DuQuoin.
I'm going to go with DuQuoin as well. Nobody really wants to talk about the elephant in the room, that being the revenge factor. DuQuoin coach Al Martin told me that his kids would be very prepared for this game, so you can at least believe there's an underlying current of intensity there. And obviously, the kids remember last year. And Murphy's never, like Scott mentioned, Murfreesboro's not in that position of getting into the playoffs with this game. But at the same point, possible home playoff game is on the line for DuQuoin. I think they'd be motivated enough with that alone to win this game.
Well, I believe I said on this show, week 1 or week 2, Murphy was going to make the playoffs, and well, I was close in a sense, I guess, but DuQuoin's just a better football team, and I think they'll probably beat them by a couple of scores. All right, any final thoughts from you guys?
Any chance, you mentioned the home field for the playoffs. I mean, DuQuoin absolutely, if they don't win this game, there's absolutely no chance they get a home field. And even at 7-2, it's been kind of dicey the last couple of years for getting a home game. So if they entertain any hopes whatsoever of having a home game in the first round, they absolutely have to win this game.
And then Pete, tell us a little bit about Chester. Is everybody pretty excited? A chance to go 9-0 this week to finish off the regular season.
Obviously, they're playing Hamilton County at home. It's senior night. They have a lot of outstanding seniors, especially in the offense and defensive line. No Chester team has ever gone 9-0 in school history. But, of course, then again, you kind of wonder on the backside of it is, are they going to end up playing Belleville-Autoff, which I think would be a little bit of a crime for South 17 to play Black Diamond in the first round. But obviously, it comes down to controlling what you can control. If you beat Hamco, you get that nice fuzzy feeling about doing something that no other team's ever done. Then you can start thinking about who you're going to play.
They also could host DuQuoin, who's probably going to be 2A, and if DuQuoin is 7-2 and Chester's 9-0, we could have a DuQuoin going down to the, what do you even call that place, the Yellow Pit or something?
W.O. Smith Field, yes.
Yeah.
Well, and Altoff's game this weekend is huge. If Altoff beats Triad, Altoff will be 6-3, I think.
Yeah.
So then a 9-0, 6-3 matchup would be fairly unlikely. So
At least until second round.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if Altoff wins Friday night, Chester fans can breathe a little bit easier about dodging that matchup in the first round.
I think I need to take my magic 8-ball out and shake it a couple of times and see what it says. So.
All right, that should wrap it up. Puts a wrap on the regular season, and well, I guess we'll be back here next week and talk about some of the playoff games coming up. So thanks for watching all season, and we'll see you next week.